I'm Michelle Fields at the Heritage Foundation in Washington, D.C. for a panel discussion on the future of internet regulation.
How we define the internet may determine how we answer some of these questions about free speech versus the free market interests and rights of corporations like Amazon, Google, and Facebook, and others. Is it a public space? Does it belong to everyone? Or is it a private space like real estate where you can actually buy up parcels of it and then sell it or at least control it? Is it like a navigable river where there's an inherent public interest so the government controls it although doesn't really own it and uses it for public benefit?
That at the moment, the people who have more power over free speech than any king or president or potentate are not on the Supreme Court. They're not judges. They are lawyers at companies like Google, Facebook, and Twitter who are making the kind of decisions that Craig described in his introduction about whether to take down or leave up content across the globe. So how to think about this space where these young lawyers, many of whom are literally 22 years old in T-shirts and flip-flops in Silicon Valley. I've met them and have had the privilege of spending time with these people at every level of these companies, and have come to respect the seriousness with which they're taking their awesome power to protect constitutional values in a space where the Constitution doesn't formally apply. Because that's the bottom line answer to your question. The First Amendment says Congress shall make no law, and Facebook is not the government, and therefore Mark Zuckerberg is not James Madison. He does not have to respect First Amendment values if he doesn't want to.
Broadband internet access service is not competitive. There isn't meaningful choice for consumers to choose among the service providers that can get that information for them once they pay them. The average American has fewer than one choice of broadband internet access providers of over 10 megabits per second, which is fairly high speed, but it's almost de rigueur these days for the content that's out there. So it's not as if you have a variety of choices in your home where you can say, oh, if that guy is doing untoward things to the content, if that guy is filtering out what I am able to access, I'm going to go to this one, this one, this one, or this one. You don't have the choice. And moreover, the switching costs where you are fortunate enough to have, I live in suburban DC here, and I do actually have a choice of two. The switching costs are incredibly high.
Now, I would just point to another time where numerous organizations were very, very concerned about a monopoly on viewpoints and called for FCC regulation. And let me just quote an FCC order from 1987. The FCC said that regulation in this area places the government in the intrusive role of scrutinizing program content, creates the opportunity for abuse for partisan political purposes, and imposes unnecessary costs upon both broadcasters and the commission. That was in the fairness doctrine context. So I would just be very concerned with potentially handing the reins of economic regulation over to for lack of a better term, pointy-headed bureaucrats that may have a political agenda. You start off by saying that there's a problem with choice and with provision of services, and you end up with Washington dictating when and how you'll receive different internet products.
Now, you mentioned a very important provision of American law, and that's Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. And that sounds technical, but it's actually the core to much of what makes the internet in the US free. And Section 230 says that if the internet companies do not actively review content on their own, but merely allow users to post content, then they are not liable for illegal content that's posted on their platforms. 230, on the one hand, has led to an astonishing cornucopia of free speech, the very fulfillment of Oliver Wendell Holmes' notion of the marketplace of ideas, because it's allowed Facebook generally and Google to put up stuff that can be very offensive, as the Innocence of the Muslims video showed, but also can be central to public debate.
We've seen incredible growth of the internet since it was invented by Al Gore some decades ago, and there's
that was the internet highway. Yeah, that's right.
There's no reason to now that we're having there's no reason to start messing with something that's not necessarily broken.
Reporting in Washington, D.C., I'm Michelle Fields for PJTV.